Hey everyone, so let's talk about something that might actually change how you think about weight loss. You know how everyone's always searching for that magic food that's low in calories, but actually keeps you full? Well, mushrooms might be closer to that than you think, and the science behind it is pretty fascinating. Here's what most people don't realize. When we're talking about mushrooms, we're not just talking about some boring vegetable you throw on a salad. Fresh mushrooms contain only about 21 calories per cup. 21 calories. That's absolutely wild when you consider what you're actually getting nutritionally. And here's the kicker. They're not just low-calorie filler. They're actually packed with protein and fiber that can genuinely help with weight management. Now let me share something really interesting from Johns Hopkins University. They ran a year-long clinical trial, and the results were honestly surprising. People who replaced red meat with 1 cup of mushrooms daily lost an average of 7 pounds, while the control group eating meat only lost about 2 pounds. But it gets better. The mushroom group achieved lower body fat percentage and improved their body mass index. And they actually maintained these changes for 6 months after the initial weight loss phase. That's huge, because most diets fail during the maintenance phase, right? So why do mushrooms work so well for weight loss? Let's break down the science. First, we need to talk about energy density, which is basically how many calories are packed into a given volume of food. Mushrooms are very low in calories and energy density, and studies suggest that eating low energy-dense foods is associated with reduced calorie intake and lower body weight. When you eat foods with lower energy density, you can eat larger portions while consuming fewer calories. Your stomach feels physically full, which sends satiety signals to your brain, even though you haven't loaded up on calories. Here's where it gets even more interesting. The University of Minnesota conducted a study comparing mushrooms to meat. When the protein content was matched, participants reported significantly less hunger, greater fullness, and decreased prospective consumption after eating mushrooms compared to meat. Think about that for a second. Even when the protein was exactly the same, mushrooms kept people feeling fuller. That's not about the protein, that's about something else mushrooms are doing in your body. Part of this comes down to fiber. Mushrooms contain something called chitin, which is an insoluble fiber that's actually unique to fungi. You won't find it in plants or meat. This fiber adds bulk to your digestive system and helps you feel satisfied. Plus, mushrooms also contain beta-glucans, which are soluble fibers with impressive health benefits. These compounds slow down digestion and can help regulate blood sugar levels, preventing those energy crashes that make you reach for snacks an hour after eating. Now, let's talk about the protein situation, because this is where people get confused. Fresh mushrooms contain about 2 to 3 grams of protein per 100 grams. That doesn't sound like much, right? But here's what makes mushroom protein special. Mushrooms are a complete protein source, containing all 9 essential amino acids, and their biological value is at par with milk and meat. The quality of protein matters just as much as the quantity. Your body can actually use mushroom protein very efficiently. And if you want more protein content, dried mushrooms are where things get really interesting. Dried white button mushrooms contain 29.9 grams of protein per 100 grams, which is comparable to the 32.1 grams found in chicken breast. When you remove the water content, the protein concentration becomes comparable to animal proteins. So if you're using mushroom powder in your cooking or rehydrating dried mushrooms, you're getting a serious protein boost. Let me tell you about the best varieties for weight loss. White button mushrooms are probably your most accessible option. They're everywhere, they're affordable, and dried. White button mushrooms can contain up to 30 grams of protein per 100 grams. They're mild in flavor, so they work in pretty much any dish. Shiitake mushrooms are another powerhouse. Beyond their protein content, research from animal studies showed something remarkable. Rats fed a high dose of shiitake mushrooms with a high-fat diet had 35% lower total fat deposition and 55% lower plasma triglyceride levels. Now, obviously that's in rats, not humans, but it suggests shiitake has compounds that may actively help prevent fat storage. Oyster mushrooms are fantastic too. They're among the highest protein mushrooms, especially when dried, and they have this meaty texture that makes them perfect for replacing higher calorie proteins in your meals. They work great in stir-fries, pasta dishes, or even as a meat substitute in tacos. Portobello mushrooms deserve a mention because they're so versatile, with only 22 calories per serving, but a dense, meaty texture They're commonly used as burger substitutes. Plus, they're loaded with potassium, which is important for regulating blood pressure and supporting overall metabolic health. If you really want to, please like this video, because honestly, this information about mushrooms is something more people need to know. It's not just another diet trend. This is backed by real clinical research. So how do you actually use mushrooms for weight loss? The key is substitution. You don't have to become vegetarian or cut out meat entirely. The research suggests that even partial substitution works. Try mixing finely chopped mushrooms into your ground beef for burgers or meatballs. You'll reduce the overall calorie and fat content, while adding nutrients like B vitamins, vitamin D, and minerals. The umami flavor in mushrooms means you won't even notice you're eating less meat. The dish will still taste rich and satisfying. You can also use mushrooms to add volume to meals without adding many calories. Throw them into pasta sauces, soups, scrambled eggs, grain bowls, or stir-fries. Because they have such low energy density, they bulk up your meal and fill your plate without significantly increasing calories. This is huge for people who struggle with portion control, because you're not forcing yourself to eat tiny portions. You're eating satisfying amounts of food. One thing to keep in mind, though, is that cooking method matters. Research shows that grilling or microwaving mushrooms preserves their nutrients better than frying or boiling. When you fry mushrooms in a lot of oil or butter, you're obviously adding back those calories you were trying to avoid. A light sauté with a small amount of oil works fine, but don't drown them in fat. Let me give you some practical meal ideas. For breakfast, try a mushroom and spinach omelet. The protein from eggs, combined with the fiber and volume from mushrooms, will keep you full until lunch. For lunch, make a big salad with grilled portobello slices instead of chicken. For dinner, do a mushroom and vegetable stir-fry over cauliflower rice, or make mushroom tacos with all your favorite toppings. And if you're really serious about incorporating more mushrooms, you can even find mushroom powders now that you can add to smoothies, soups, or coffee. These are usually made from medicinal mushrooms like reishi or lion's mane, which have additional health benefits beyond just weight loss, including immune support and cognitive enhancement. Here's the bottom line. Mushrooms aren't going to magically melt fat off your body. No food does that. But what they can do is make your weight loss journey significantly easier by helping you feel full and satisfied while eating fewer calories. A year-long study showed that people who substituted mushrooms for meat lost an average of 3.6% of their starting body weight and maintained that loss. That's sustainable, realistic weight loss. The best part is that mushrooms are incredibly accessible. You don't need to buy expensive superfoods or follow some complicated meal plan. Just grab some mushrooms at your local grocery store and start experimenting with them in your favorite recipes. They're affordable, they're easy to cook, and the research clearly shows they can support your weight loss goals. So if you're looking for a simple, science-backed strategy to improve your diet and support weight loss, give mushrooms a real shot. Start small if you need to. Maybe just add them to one meal a day and see how you feel. Pay attention to your hunger levels and how satisfied you feel after eating. I think you'll be surprised. If you found this information helpful, please subscribe to the channel. I'm always diving into the research to bring you evidence-based nutrition information that actually works in real life. No gimmicks, no magic pills, just practical strategies backed by science. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.